is Ari Glasser. I'm with the Town Meeting TV Neighborhood Media Internship program. And I'm with Stephen, and we are going to discuss the upcoming Vermont International Film Festival and other things relating to cinema.
Kino.
Now,
hi, Ari. It's good to talk to you. I am Stephen Heron. I'm co-director of production at Town Meeting TV and resident film addict, I think would be the right word for me.
Yeah, so tell me, I don't know much about VTIFF, so tell me a little bit about it.
So the Vermont International Film Festival happens once a year in October. It's usually about 9 days long, 2 weekends and in the week in between. And they curate a really interesting selection of independent and foreign films every year. There's usually a couple of repertory titles as well, repertory being older films that are not in their first release, usually centering around anniversaries and such like that. They try to bring filmmakers to Vermont every year. This year, there's two really very exciting filmmakers. John Waters is going to be making a special appearance. Legendary American independent director John Waters, king of trash, famous for directing Pink Flamingos and Polyester and the original Hairspray, which later became the inspiration for the Broadway musical. Very, very influential figure of really dark and sadistic comedies, gay icon. And he's going to be bringing his film Female Trouble, which I believe is his second film, or no, I believe his third. I think it's his third film. And he's going to be doing a live commentary, so the film's going to play, and he's going to talk about it while it's playing. And he's going to do a talk back afterwards as well, which is very exciting. That event's already sold out. I got my ticket. I'm very excited to see that. And then a person I want to shout out in particular, Nancy Savoca, is going to be there. She was one of the earliest, and not that long ago, just tragically, she was a major female director. And she came out of the independent scene of the late 80s and made a number of films through the 90s at a time where there were not that many female directors. There's still not that many female directors, in terms of scales, but she was really kind of a pioneer. She's bringing her films Dogfight, which is amazing, with the late River Phoenix, and also her follow-up Household Saints. Both of those films star Lily Taylor. So she's going to be doing a bunch of Q&As. She's also involved with an organization called Missing Movies, which is trying to rediscover films that have lost distribution, independent films from the later part of the 20th century who have lost their distribution, and try to get them back into circulation. So they invite filmmakers, they show local stuff, they show foreign stuff, a wide variety of documentary, narrative, all sorts of subjects. They show dozens of movies every year, and they have some really great curation. Some of the best in the state.
That's fascinating. Now, are any of these directors from Vermont or from the Burlington area?
There's a couple. They do a slate of usually local shorts. VTIFF has a secondary festival that happens in the spring. It's called Made Here. It usually happens in April. And the Made Here Festival specializes in filmmakers from Vermont, Greater New England, upstate New York, and Quebec. So there's always a lot of Vermont films from there. It's mostly shorts. I think the Made Here Festival usually has a couple of features as well. And I believe somewhere in this catalog is a selection of films that played at Made Here this past year. And I believe all of those, the Made Here 2025 festival favorites. And I believe all of those but one are from Vermont, and I believe another one is from Quebec, so our neighbors up north. So that, and I know there is a Vermont-based filmmaker, let me find the title, yes. Angela Madsen, who made a feature documentary called A Body to Live In, which is about body modification and that subculture of the queer community. That I know is a Vermont-based filmmaker. And then finally, a special event called Vignettes of Veiled Light, which was made by two local filmmakers, Alex Jewell and Sorry, let me find it. Got a little ASMR going here with the Miles and Alexandra Jewell. They're a partnership creatively and personally. Miles is also currently making a documentary about CCTV, so a little hometown pride. They made an experimental documentary. They sent out a bunch of cameras from their friends and students and such, and they got a ton of footage during the eclipse that happened last April. And there's sort of a live performance element as well, so they'll show like 10 minutes of a documentary. There's going to be a live score. There's going to be sort of different poetry and communal participatory things. That was a really cool event. They did it earlier this year at Contoy's Auditorium in City Hall Park, which we recorded. So if you want to go on our website or YouTube, you can find vignettes of Veiled Light. That was a really great performance, and they're doing a secondary version of it at VTIFF on Sunday the 26th. So they're Vermont-based filmmakers as well.
Now, are there any films that you are particularly, or you or the local cinema community is particularly excited for?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a few. John Waters showing up to an area like Burlington's a big deal.
Yeah.
He's very famous, very influential. I feel like the biggest sort of name film that is playing is Richard Linklater's Blue Moon, which stars Ethan Hawke and Margaret Qualley, Bobby Cannavale, Andrew Scott, which is based on Lorenz Hart, who was Richard Rodgers' partner before he met Hammerstein. And it's about the opening of Oklahoma. So if you're a musical theater nerd, your antennas are probably going, the opening of Oklahoma and Lorenz Hart sort of drunkenly and depressingly getting drunk at the bar at Sardi's afterwards. Made a big splash at Berlin, has played a lot of festivals after that. I think it played TIFF as well, a lot of regional festivals. It's going to be coming to theaters nationwide soon, and that's going to be playing on Thursday the 23rd. I had tickets to this, and then something came up, and I'm no longer able to attend, which is a bummer. So I'm looking forward to seeing that soon in general. That's probably the biggest name thing. But then I think the beautiful thing about VTIFF is that you're willing to be even a little bit adventurous. You'll find something that interests you. You know, a majority of the films that are selected are international films spoken in languages that are not English, but it's not just reserved for the most heavy stuff. There's a film that's playing called DJ Ahmet, which I believe is from Macedonia, and seems to be a very charming coming-of-age comedy about a teenage farm boy who just wants to become a DJ to impress a girl. So, you know, it's not all heavy-duty stuff. There is also more dramatic things. This film, this year, there definitely seems to be a lot of films that have a little bit more of a violent bent. It Was Just an Accident out of Iran. The filmmaker Jafar Panahi, who I believe is basically in exile in his native Iran, sort of makes movies in secret from the government, keeps his production small, and they're very critical of the Iranian government. That made a big splash out of Cannes and won the Palme d'Or. For those who don't know, for the Cannes Film Festival, the Palme d'Or is basically their best picture. So that's a very prestigious international award. That's playing this Saturday at 7, Saturday the 18th. And then similarly, another film that made a big splash out of Cannes, which is the closing night film of VTIFF, is The Secret Agent from Brazil. And that seems to be sort of a caper drama with some comedic elements and some crime violence and things like that. Those are some of the bigger films playing. There's a lot of short films that play. They have 2 blocks of shorts that will play next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 24th, 25th, and 26th. Shorts blocks are always great. You get a lot of variety. So I definitely recommend attending a shorts block when you can. And I do really recommend attending the Made Here festival selection, which again is all filmmakers from Vermont and one film from Quebec. And that is playing, let me pull it up. That's playing on Thursday the 23rd at 8 and on Saturday the 25th at 4:45. So if you can attend those, I really highly recommend that.
Yeah, and I see there's a great variety of languages, genres, lengths of films. I mean, I see one here about the war in civil war in Sudan,
Yep.
and yeah, wow, this is very interesting.
Yep.
So,
Oh no, continue, please.
yeah, and now tell me a little bit more about maybe the cinema community or of Burlington, of Vermont in general. Now, there's not a whole lot of movie theaters around here.
Tragically not. No. It is interesting because there is definitely a very dedicated film going community in Vermont. It just tends to be a much smaller niche than it is in other areas. Burlington's primary independent cinema, the Roxy, closed unceremoniously last year. That cinema was owned by the Jarvis family, which used to own a bunch of movie theaters in this area. In the time that I've been living in Vermont, it was just down to 3, the Palace 9 in South Burlington, which closed in 2023. The Roxy closed last year, and now they're operating the Majestic 10 out of Williston. There is, in terms of multiplexes, there's also the Essex Cinema in Essex, which is my go-to in terms of just like a regular multiplex. They'll show special events, satellite.
I know they're playing Spirited Away soon. They're doing a...
Yeah. They'll get the Ghibli Fest through Fathom. For those who don't know, Fathom Entertainment is a specialty distributor that releases movies as sort of like 1 or 2 night only events. They won't do a full week, 2-week long run or longer than the way that the major distributors will. And through that, they get Ghibli stuff. They get a lot of repertory stuff. They'll get foreign films outside of Ghibli, just a lot of anime through the distributor G Kids. Different things. If you want to go see episodes of The Chosen on the big screen, which has been an interesting phenomenon of the past couple of years, you can do that. And then in Colchester, there is the Sunset Drive-In, but that's seasonal. It's probably closed by now. It's been I haven't been checking their listings as it's gotten colder. But yeah, and in exciting news, very, very soon, Partisan Film, which is a new micro cinema that's going to be opening up next door to where the Roxy used to be. There'll be a 2-screen theater specializing in foreign film, foreign and independent film. One of their auditoriums will have about 30 seats. Another auditorium will have about 19 seats. So again, it's sort of capitalizing on that niche. Can we fill these 2 smaller auditoriums rather than trying to get a lot of people not filling a bunch of bigger auditoriums? I interviewed them a couple months ago. You can find that in our archives. Just look up Partisan Film. And then VTIFF does work all year round outside of the festival. Once or twice a month, they'll show independent or foreign films in the Film House, which is the big auditorium on the 3rd floor of Main Street Landing. And then they have a smaller screening room. They call it the Screening Room. That's also a 30-seat sort of micro cinema that's on the 1st floor of Main Street Landing. And they'll show 2 or 3 movies a week, basically, in those. And if you have the physical flyer for VTIFF, the physical handheld packet, which I believe is going to be in next week's 7 days. If you go to Main Street Landing, they have a bunch of these handing around us right now. Or it might have been in this week's 7 days. They're going to have events. They show 1 or 2 movies a week. And then on top of that, Main Street Landing, Mariah Riggs, who operates Main Street Landing, she shows movies for free on Tuesday. Repertory titles, classic movies, modern classics and old classics alike. Everything from The Apartment to The Terminator, Ghost World, Waiting for Guffman, all sorts of stuff. Mulholland Drive. I saw Videodrome there a couple months ago. So yeah, if you're really dedicated to the niche that is hunting down for things to see, there's definitely things to see, but it's not as vibrant as it is in other cities like New York, LA. Those are cities with real movie-going culture. Chicago and Boston have very healthy movie-going scenes. But yeah, they definitely exist. The nice thing about Vermont is that even outside of VTIFF, there's all sorts of smaller festivals, or not even smaller, but there's a lot of film festivals that happen throughout the year. I am actually a member of the screening committee for the Green Mountain Film Festival, which is based out of Montpelier. That happens in March. That's one weekend long across 2 different movie theaters, which gets a great turnout. And it also has a really awesome, I mean, not to toot our own horn because I am on the screening committee, but we do try to get a large variety of stuff, American stuff, older stuff, foreign stuff, a lot of shorts and a lot of independent filmmakers and local filmmakers when we can get it. So that's a great festival. There's another one out of the Middlebury area. I'm forgetting it, but it's something Folklife Festival. That's very good. So if you know where to look, there's all these different festivals. Vermont Folklife, maybe. There's all these sorts of festivals that are happening throughout the year, even when VTIFF's not happening. And VTIFF does have the Made Here Festival, which is all local filmmakers. It's mostly shorts. And that's really great if you ever get a chance to go to that. That usually happens in March or April.
Yeah, so that's all great to know. You mentioned the New Partisan, Main Street Landing Films, Green Mountain Film Festival, because I know a lot of times myself and people around me will be reading about film festivals going on and the films there, and I'm like, where would I see that? It's not playing at my local movie theater. And are they often like on streaming services or?
I mean, a lot of times, no. I mean, if you look at this VTIFF slate, there's a chance that after VTIFF is over, you may never see some of these films again, especially some of the international documentaries. They may not get distribution in America because there's not the market for it. They might find distribution in, the continent of their origin, but they might not be accessible again. So if you find a film that has an interesting premise, and VTIFF does a really great job of coming up with these really engaging blurbs that doesn't make films feel intimidating. I feel like with a lot of more casual moving-going audiences, they see a foreign film or they see something about a heavy subject and they might be sort of drawn away from it, especially with like a foreign language film. You're reading subtitles. It might start to feel like homework. The programmers at VTIFF do a really great job of coming up with these blurbs that make things feel really approachable. Because they might not always have a trailer or a clip available because there's nothing that has subtitles that they can offer. Just the clip or just the trailer. These are all, these are examples of, I really recommend going through their website or going through the physical packet that's included in this week's 7 days, or you can pick up one of them and just scroll through them and read premises. And if something sounds engaging, I really recommend rolling the dice, taking a gamble on it, because you never know what you'll find, and you'll never know for some of these foreign language films if you'll ever be able to see it again.
Yeah, that's great. So VTIFF, this could be your only chance to see some of these great international films and documentaries in the United States. And now maybe moving towards like general, more mainstream movies. You mentioned you've seen The Long Walk, the new Stephen King adaptation that recently came out. What are your thoughts on that?
Good movie. I don't know. It was a good movie. It's interesting because it's directed by Francis Lawrence, who I feel now is most famous for directing a vast majority of the Hunger Games. He did not direct the first one. That was Gary Ross, but he's directed every Hunger Games since. And textually, The Long Walk is very similar to the Hunger Games. It's about teens in this televised competition where slowly all of them but one will be killed. But it's very different in tone, very different in scale. I avoided, when the Hunger Games were happening, I was in my peak sort of pretentious teenhood. They were coming out as I was in like middle school and high school, and I was just like, I'm not hopping on another YA craze. I had my fill with Twilight. I was there for Twilight, and I wasn't doing another. So I avoided them until I saw the prequel with my partner. and I liked it, and I'm like, I regret skipping all of these. Hunger Games is pretty good. And what's interesting about The Long Walk, which is a little more violent, it's rated R.
Yeah.
It's more violent, has more hard language. It's all boys as well in The Long Walk, so there's less. It has a very masculine energy, which is different than The Hunger Games. But I thought it was solid. I have read some King. I'm not a Stephen King expert. But I thought it got the Stephen King tone well. I haven't read this book, but I read up on that book, and it seems like certain aspects of it are very faithful. Certain aspects of it are very different in terms of just plotting and things. But the dialogue felt right out of his language, which I appreciate. What did you think, Ari? I've been talking a lot.
Yeah,
I think we should turn it back on you.
I thought it wasn't necessarily exactly what I expected going into, a dystopian movie. Maybe I thought all the time there's going to be action. Someone's going to get shot every 5 minutes, which I guess there was, but they didn't. I felt like it was less concerned about showing us the whole dystopian world they live in and really developing relationships between the boys that are talking to each other, which is, it wasn't. I didn't think it was an amazing movie. That was something that really stood out to me as something that might make it worth watching. They're really talking about fighting back and what they want to do to fight back against the dystopia they're in without really needing to feel that they have to present us with this whole setting, like a super detailed world or setting that they're in.
No, I definitely agree with you. I think if there's any argument to see this movie, if there's any argument to see this movie, it's for the young performances. I mean, you just have a spate of really great young actors. I mean, Cooper Hoffman, who obviously is the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman, the late great, who also worked with Francis Lawrence. Philip Seymour Hoffman was in the Hunger Games sequels. Cooper Hoffman is just a real distinct talent in his own right, with a very different energy than his dad's in certain ways. And David Johnson, the British actor, who for a lot of American audiences I think popped up and really popped for them in Alien Romulus. Did you see Alien Romulus?
No, I didn't. I heard of it.
It's all right. He's really good in it. And he's amazing in this. Doing a very strange, slightly Cajun American accent. That's sort of my complaint with a lot of these young British actors is that they're trying to... For one thing, we have too many Brits playing our parts.
I didn't know that these actors were British. But
well, not all he was.
At least this guy.
Yeah.
Now that I think of it, his accent did sound... Some of the southern accents didn't quite sound.
Yeah, Cooper Hoffman plays Grady. David Johnson plays... I pulled up the IMDb. I'm going to forget character names. McVries is sort of the second guy. Yeah. But he's a really incredible actor. I think he gives a really phenomenal performance in this. You fall in love with McVries pretty instantly.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's Mark Hamill.
What did you think of the use of Mark Hamill?
Well... what I can say is all I've seen Mark Hamill in
is Luke Skywalker. Yeah.
So I heard that it was Mark Hamill beforehand, but then when I actually started watching the movie, I totally forgot that I was watching Mark Hamill play this brutal, authoritarian major guy.
No.
And then, it was really at the end that he stood out to me as looking like Mark Hamill because he's wearing the poncho in the rain, and it looks like a Jedi robe.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way, but that's a very good point.
But I think it's interesting to just see an actor that plays this like beloved hero character, and now is playing this. I mean, of course, many actors do it, but this totally evil, purely evil villain.
Well, of course, his second most famous role for a lot of people is the Joker. He is the voice of the Joker for most of the animated Batman things, going back to the Batman animated series. So he does have that sort of range in him. I don't know. Part of me was just I'm mixed on the portrayal of the Major. I like what the Major represents. I feel like he's missing for a good chunk of the movie. One thing I'll really compliment the movie, and I think part of it just comes from the source material and part of it comes from its execution. Because the conceit of The Long Walk, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, dystopian society, dystopian version of America. These 50 boys are selected in a lottery every year to participate in the Long Walk. It's a televised event where all 50 of them have to walk at a minimum 3 miles per hour. And if they lower 3 miles per hour, you get like a 3-strike system. And if you miss your 3rd strike, you get killed on television. So it's slowly, they keep walking. There's no stops. It's just whoever out of the 50 can last the longest going minimum 3 miles per hour without getting all 3 strikes. And the movie does a great job of having these, like, in addition to the major, there's a whole litany of soldiers. There's probably 1 soldier for every boy, or something like that. And they do a great job of, there's just this ever looming background. Like, you're focusing on 2 characters having one conversation, and in the background you hear number 45, 1st strike. And there is this ever looming presence, and a lot of the deaths get really highlighted, and a lot of the deaths get glossed over. And then every now and again, there'll be 2 characters having a conversation, and then you'll just hear strike 3 and then a gunfire without even seeing the death. So it keeps that tension throughout the entire thing, and you're constantly aware of the danger they're in, even when they're having a more personal moment, like you were talking about. It's very conversational. It's a very difficult movie to make in that way, both on a filmmaking level and on a performance level. For one, you're always moving.
Yeah.
You're always moving. And how do you make 50 guys just keep on walking not boring? And that's a directorial challenge, and that's a performance challenge. And I think all the young actors and Francis Lawrence do a pretty solid job.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed, I don't know how much of this is intentional, I'm sure most of it is that although they're not necessarily introducing the whole, regime at the start of the movie, we don't exactly know what this dystopian America is like.
Yeah.
It's really not a huge, like if you see the Hunger Games, it's this huge operation. They send them all to this glorious capital, but here...
Hunger Games feels like a sci-fi world.
Yeah, but here, the Raymond Garrity, which is the main character, he just drives up to this little gate with his mom in the car. This kid with a blank, with just a pretty plain uniform on, says, "Go on through the gate." And then there's just, the boys are all just sitting there getting ready to go. There's maybe 3 tanks. Like you said, are a couple dozen soldiers. Yeah. But they're all, again, even the major, he's not wearing this huge fancy uniform or anything like that.
Just looks like a regular military uniform.
Yeah. So
and even then, it's like throwbacky. What's interesting is that in doing research, I knew that this was... So Stephen King has 4 novels that were published under the name Richard Bachman. So King did not get published until he was in his mid-30s with the book Carrie, which then later became the movie. And after he started getting published and he got hugely successful, publishers are like, "Do you have any old manuscripts?" And he's like, "I have these 4 books that I wrote before Carrie was published. I don't want them published under my name. You can publish them under Richard Bachman." And they're a little nastier. They're less horror. They're more like The Long Walk. It's a horror thriller and that people die, but it's more like a sci-fi.
It's not intended to.
Yeah.
It's not spooky or anything.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that it's actually the first book he ever wrote. It's the first manuscript he ever wrote when he was a freshman in college. So think about what you were doing a freshman in college. Ari, are you even a freshman in college? You in high school? You're not even a freshman. So you could still write The Long Walk. You have a future ahead of you where you could write an equivalent to Long Walk. That's past for me. But it's the first book he ever wrote, and it's fascinating to think about it that. It was like, this is the first thing that he ever put to paper in that large of a scale, to be writing a novel. And also, when you look at it, it was like, so if he was a freshman in college, this is about 1965, 1966, maybe 67. It's clearly an allegory for Vietnam. And what's interesting is that in terms of for the most part, the way people address the cars they're driving, it's very like 60s, 70s fashion and cars, and you don't really see modern devices, the tanks. The closest thing to a modern reference is, I might have misheard this, but I think someone references a Jamba Juice at one point. I don't know if those were around the 60s. So it's like, is this even supposed to be a version of our present? Or is it like a dystopian version of the 60s?
We have these, what seem to me to be pretty high-tech, like hidden cameras in the tanks at all times.
Yes.
So, you get the sense that it's really a struggling nation that maybe can't even afford to give their soldiers fancy uniforms, but they've really gone all out to make this as authentic as possible. And as the Major was saying at the beginning of the movie, really instilling a work ethic in their citizens after we suppose a civil war has happened.
In like a very patriarchal
Yes.
sense. It's a very toxic form of masculinity that's perpetrated. And some of the boys are leaning into that. They've bought all into it, and a lot of the boys are sort of rebelling against the idea.
And we might be wondering, why are they rebelling? Why did they sign up for this event if all they're going to do is complain about it? But what we see is that it's really not something that's voluntary.
Yeah.
It's just been sort of added as part of their culture. In the Hunger Games, they're dragging people away from their homes and forcing them to compete in this. No one wants to do this, but in the Long Walk, we've seen they've managed to create this system and this sense that everybody is, even in these poorer areas, believes that this is a good, like a patriotic thing, a respectful thing to do.
Yeah. It's kind of like the success of American Idol in the wake of 9/11. Now that I think about it, obviously very different context, but in those first early seasons of American Idol, before it sort of dropped off in popularity, those winners of those seasons, Kelly Clarkson in particular, Carrie Underwood, look how that turned out, really became sort of symbols and like people that people really latched onto and invested a whole lot into. Now, Ari, you're approaching the age that the contestants of the Long Walk would be in. Would you enter the lottery?
Well, I gotta say, I haven't grown up in a society where this is considered like the pinnacle of success and masculinity.
Yeah.
But I would not enter the Long Walk.
Wow.
Well, I mean, we see some. If I've been growing up as a kid and I'd seen this same movie every year with 50 different guys and 49 of them got shot, I don't think I'd be very excited about my prospects.
No. Would you enlist in the military?
Like right now, or?
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, well.
It's an allegory for Vietnam. Would you? I mean, granted, it was different. Vietnam was a draft, much similar to how the Long Walk is a lottery.
Yeah.
Would you enlist in the military?
Well, we're not necessarily in a Vietnam War, but this isn't the most peaceful time of American history. So, I think, I don't think I would, because, I might not be risking being deployed in Vietnam or Afghanistan, but I don't want to be deployed to Chicago either. So, yeah.
Well, I think your parents might be happy to hear that.
Yeah. No. Well, how about are there any other films coming out now that you think anyone watching or listening, even if they aren't necessarily huge into cinema, besides, of course, going to these important films that we mentioned at VTIFF, anything that's worth seeing right now at Majestic 10 or at Essex Cinemas?
Yeah, I think everyone should go see One Battle After Another if they haven't already. I don't know if I fully adopt the praise it's been getting as like the masterpiece of our century, but I think it's a very engaging movie. It's actually a shockingly simple movie. This is Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio. It's about a revolutionary, a sort of washed out revolutionary, and what he does after his daughter is kidnapped by the U.S. government. I just think it's a movie that is A, very entertaining, B, has even though I don't think it's as politically concise as a lot of people are making it out to be, I think its politics are kind of murky. I think everyone's going to come away with their own opinion and their own view on it and see a lot of really impressive filmmaking, some great performances. The young actress Chase Infinity, who plays the daughter, I was blown away by her. So come for Leo, stay for Chase. I don't know. Avatar's coming out. Avatar 3. There's going to be a Fire Na'vi. That seems that seems interesting to me. Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill parts 1 and 2 are finally going to be shown in their original format together, called The Whole Bloody Affair. That's going to get a limited release in early December. I'm excited to see that in that format. Yeah, there's always good movies. There's good movies and bad movies all the time. Just go see a movie. Go see a movie a week. See multiple movies a week. How many movies do you see in a year, Ari?
I see, at theaters, maybe not even once a month, maybe 6 movies a year.
That's about the average, I have to say. That's about the average. I'm a sick and broken person. I'm doing double digits, some years triple digits.
But I often find myself I'll go and see a movie and I'll be like, wow, that was amazing, and I've got to go see another movie in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
And then I go and it's a complete disappointment.
Yep.
Sometimes it just turns me away. Sometimes I'm like, let's go see Mission Impossible, the final Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that was rough. That was.
I have to suspend my disbelief again,
Yeah.
like every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did hundreds of studio executives look at this and say, wow, what a great movie? But then, I see something like Sinners. And
Great movie.
Incredible. I thought it was incredible.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Well, everyone, go out and see a movie. Come to VTIFF that starts this Friday, October. Well, this would be tomorrow, October
17th. Thank you, Ari.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Stephen, for talking with me.